the legacy financial system is exactly that. It's legacy. It's already redundant, and it's just a matter of time before everyone realizes that it's much easier and better to use Bitcoin. So I eventually came up with the idea of Air BTC, which is just like an Airbnb concept. It's a bookings platform for people to list their properties on. But we only use Bitcoin. That allows us to not have a fiat bank account, because you have the people who list their properties on the one side and you have the people who book on the other side. And if both those parties agree to accept Bitcoin and we're just the middleman, we never have to touch the fiat system. And so I was walking around with this idea for like a year and a half, since 2021. And then eventually I couldn't get anyone to buy it and to do it. So I just decided, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Ben Wehrman podcast. I appreciate you being here. Today we have a unique episode. We do a lot of talking on the show about the big picture of Bitcoin, how it's changing the world in all these huge ways and changing lives, but that's always a very macro scale. But today we're going to bring it down to more of the micro scale and look at an actual problem and solutions being created out there on this free market of these crazy Bitcoin people to just have this bizarre idea of just not having the government in all of our plans and just creating economies that actually work with themselves, with people. So I have with me today Andre van Heerden of Air BTC. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. I'm really excited to be here. I've been the first podcast or show that I've ever been on was like 3 weeks ago, basically. So I've been slowly gathering some momentum and also some confidence. But I think that me and you and your listeners will have a lot in common. So yeah, really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love it, man. Well, I would like to start the way that I pretty much always do before we get into Air BTC and just talk a bit about your origin story. I know that everyone likes a good story of how people got to where they are today, and I know that you had a pretty classic one, I would say, that was very similar to mine, actually, almost exactly on time frame as well. So tell us, maybe start with just your life before Bitcoin, what you did before that, how you found Bitcoin, and where that has led you to get to where you are today.
So my father is a property developer in the suburbs of Cape Town, South Africa. And when I finished school, since I was primary school, basically my life was kind of laid out to me. I was going to join my dad's company. Things didn't quite work out, and I found myself in a position where around about 2018, I was looking for a career change. And I started looking around, and I stumbled upon this arbitrage trading with Bitcoin. I heard that people were doing it, and I started researching, and I realized that there's some profit to be made there. And let me just explain. Maybe some of your listeners won't know, but so South Africa has quite strenuous capital controls, and you have to basically go through a very long process in order to take funds out of the country. And because of that, the price of Bitcoin in South Africa, if you buy in South African rands, is higher than in most other countries. So, I mean, there's a lot of quite a few of these arbitrage opportunities in different jurisdictions around the world. But at the time in 2018, like I would say you could if you're able to take funds offshore, you can just basically buy Bitcoin on any exchange in Europe or in the US. Transfer those funds to an exchange in South Africa, and then just immediately sell it for anything between like a 3 and at one point it was like a 10% profit, which is almost like free money. So it's called trading, but you're not taking basically any risk. Your only risk would be that the Bitcoin price drops by a significant amount in the time that you're holding Bitcoin. So at that stage, I was not a Bitcoiner at all, but I ended up rolling my funds in arbitrage trading, going through the process with the government to get to be allowed to take funds offshore, then buying Bitcoin, bringing it back, selling it, doing that process the whole time. And I managed to do well enough with that that I could quit my job still working for my father at that stage. And then at one point, I decided, yes, I've been making so much money out of Bitcoin. Maybe I should just do it justice and just find out what this thing is actually about. And I went to, I was in a mall one day and I went to a bookstore and I asked the lady there if there's any books on cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoin specifically, actually. And she pointed me there to the section and she said, you can look there. And basically the only book that was available was the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. And it was like really, really expensive. I can like, at that stage, a book would go in like anything between, like an expensive book would be like 280 Rand, maybe 350 Rand. That book was like 850 Rand. So, but I nevertheless, I bought it, and it just blew my mind completely. The first time in my life I heard about Austrian economics. I mean, I've been reading The Economist and the South African economic news my whole life. I thought I was really smart at that stage. And it just went on like a light bulb in my head. And I really wanted to just, at that stage, I decided, like right after that, that was like in, I would say like maybe like early 2019. So I started reading a lot of Austrian economic stuff. And then COVID came in 2020. And I was still doing the arbitrage trading. And I decided, no, I want to become an Austrian economist. So I read Man Economy instead. I read everything about, that I could about all Mises's books. I went on to the Mises Institute every single day. But I mean, I don't have a economics degree or something like that. And to be able to practice basically as an economist at that stage, the Mises Institute had a program, but it was like basically like a master's degree, and I didn't have a degree. So I said to myself, no, I can't spend 3 years getting a fiat economics degree just to then go and do Austrian economics. But anyway, I'm making this a very long story now. But anyway, since then, I've been basically researching, reading, writing about Bitcoin full time. And at that stage in like 2020, 2021, in that bull market running up to 61,000, I got really excited. I was part of Saifedean's like community online, and we were talking about how Bitcoin's going to take over the world, and then, so I was just waiting for Bitcoiners to start creating normal companies, and I was looking around for like a Bitcoin-related job and people to contact me because I know about Bitcoin and almost no one else does. That never happened. And then fast forward to like 2023, last year, still almost basically nothing. And so I wanted to, since basically 2021, I wanted to create a company that's Bitcoin only, that doesn't have a fiat bank account, that has no links back to the legacy system. I mean, I suppose I don't have to tell you or your followers about the advantages of that. But the problems is, or the biggest problem is that if you have any real world company that's not basically either a Bitcoin on or off ramp or a Bitcoin services like a wallet or some custody service or whatever, anything related to the real economy, it's almost impossible to have a Bitcoin only business, because if you're operating in a certain jurisdiction, being Bitcoin only has a lot of drawbacks, because you're basically just cutting off like 90% of your potential clients. And also, even if you are pandering to the Bitcoin crowd and you're like trying to export or something like that, you always will have to have a fiat bank account, whether that would be to pay taxes or to transport or whatever, delivery costs or your suppliers. And there's always a lot of obstacles to overcome if you're trying to be Bitcoin only. So I eventually came up with the idea of AirBTC, which is just like an Airbnb concept. It's a bookings platform for people to list their properties on, but we only use Bitcoin. So that gives you gives us the opportunity or that allows us to not have a fiat bank account, because you have the people who list their properties on the one side and you have the people who book on the other side. And if both those parties agree to accept Bitcoin and we're just the middleman, we never have to touch the fiat system. And so I was walking around with this idea for like a year and a half, since 2021. And then eventually I couldn't get anyone to buy it and to do it. So I just decided, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. So yeah, I spent a lot of time to get the basics of the site down to be able to launch. We finally launched in July, and so far it's been going really well. There's been a lot of interest from the Bitcoin community. We have about 200 listings, and we have about we just had a person in the US contact us who is a property manager, and they want to list 700 properties. At this stage, we don't really have the capacity for that. Because just going through the listings and approving them takes a lot of time.
Wait, so you said 300 now, and you just got an offer for 700?
Yeah,
instantly,
yeah, so,
basically more than double your. Wow.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So yeah, we have about 200 quick. Now. So it's like triple what we have.
Wow.
But obviously we're in conversation with those with that particular client, and we're going to try and get them on board as soon as possible. And obviously this allows us to launch worldwide immediately, and anyone can list and anyone can book no matter where you are. We don't need to be in your jurisdiction. You just come onto the websites from anywhere in the world. You can either list your property or book. It does have its drawbacks. I mean, I think we already have a lot of listings on the 200 listings mark, but they're all across the whole world. So the chances of someone logging on and you want to travel to a certain town, and no matter where it is, the chances that there's a booking or a listing on in that town available is like minuscule. But we do have ways to overcome that. I mean, I can speak about that as well.
AirBNB said the same thing, I'm sure, in the early days. I mean,
yeah,
you got to start somewhere, and it's just gross.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, Airbnb overcame a lot of obstacles that we are able to kind of piggyback on. A lot of our hosts or people who list are already like super hosts on AirBTC, on Airbnb. So they know the stuff. They have everything sorted. They know exactly how it works, how to receive the guests. But what we're trying to do is also this, again, piggybacking on Airbnb. So when they started out, they had the same problem to get listings and bookings. So what they did was, when there's a big event in a certain city and that it's like overpopulated, all the hotels are full, then they would go to people in the town and say, listen, you can make money if you list your property, because all these people are coming for whatever that event was. So we're also going to target events, but we're going to target Bitcoin only events. So our plan is to target Bitcoin only events, but also related like libertarian, free market, Nostr, I mean, any freedom-minded or basically, all those type of conferences and events. And we want to be the accommodation provider of choice for those events and the people coming to attend them.
That's super cool, and a great place to start to sort of build that foundation of people that will understand the value of this. So super cool. I mean, like I said at the beginning, this is a totally different kind of episode. I've never really had just like, this random business just come on and talk about what you do, but I just think it's such a perfect plug-in for Bitcoin. And it's such a need as well, because there's so many people out there who are just sick of Airbnb for all of its reasons. But before we dive in any deeper on that, though, just a couple of things I wanted to highlight from your story there. The arbitrage you talked about, how that was sort of your introduction. That's just such a wild and perfect encapsulation of fiat, basically, where you have these different currencies in different countries, and they're all different values for some reason. No one really knows why. And this is one of the few ways that, anyone can just take advantage of the stupidity, basically. And I know that Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX guy, that's basically how he made his entire, fortune was just from doing these arbitrage trades
Yeah, in
from
Korea
the
or something.
Bahamas,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like he would just like click on a button over and over, like just like scraping off a little bit of profit off of everything and not providing any
yeah,
value. But I mean, that's the game that's there. So I can't hate on the guy for taking advantage of it, or you obviously like it's there.
yeah,
It's just
yeah. Well, I mean, arbitrage. Any arbitrage function is a core concept in economics. I mean, uh, when people ask me what arbitrage is, or well, that doesn't happen that often anymore. But I mean, I always use the example that if you if imagine like 300 years ago, there's one town and they have a market every Saturday. In that town, the sheep that they sell, say that sheep is going $300 for one sheep. But the town next door has less sheep, so the sheep is going for $400. So I mean, anyone can go and buy the sheep in the one town the next week, sell it in the other town, and make that $100 profit. I mean, that's a valuable. You're providing a valuable service to the economy there. It's not arbitrage itself. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Um, uh, with Bitcoin and with the currencies, it exists because of regulation, but uh, uh, any arbitrage gap, those gaps often open up in the free market, and that's the beauty of it. Anyone can take advantage of it if you're smart enough. If you're an entrepreneur, if you see that gap, go and buy that sheep and go and sell it on the other on the other in the other town. So I mean, there's a lot of arbitrage opportunities around the world, and there's a lot of smart people working to exploit them, and it's
that's
a
a
really cool and exciting business.
yeah, and that's a very good point. I'm glad you pushed back on that. Actually, like this isn't some new thing, just like ushered in by the digital realm. Has been going on forever, and it's not a bad thing by any means.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
um,
it's a vital part of the free market
mhm.
is people like that. I mean, it's the same with like trading in the old days with the Phoenicians. I mean, that's what they do is something has a different value in a different location from where you are, and you basically providing that service of spreading the product obviously at a price.
Where everyone's happy, and that's like the one of the
Yeah,
core tenets of just Austrian economics is there's no forced transactions, which is like
exactly.
right now we live in a world of forced transactions everywhere. We're we're inundated by them by the government. They just have all kinds of forced transactions that we don't even think about. But in
Yeah,
that situation of the sheep in different towns, everyone's happy because everyone's getting what they want and they're happy with the price. And
yeah.
the fact that there is a little bit of a lopsided pricing there will lead to the market figuring that out, and it will even things out
Hmm.
naturally without any need for intervention.
Exactly, and that would so what to build on that as well. What governments would then do is, so there's a mountain pass going between those two towns or a river. They would then go and block that mountain pass, and if you want to go through with your sheep, you have to pay them $50 a sheep. Now that's rent seeking. They're not providing any service. They're just exploiting the fact that you're moving your sheep. Um, and I mean, if you just use that example as well, I mean, that would drive up the price of the sheep in the other town because it won't be as profitable for you to do it. So instead of asking 400 for a sheep in another town, you would have to get 450, and that might cause you to stop or do less sheep or whatever. And that's just an example of how any government intervention screws up with well, the free market and the good that comes out of it. Because it's not just the $50 per sheep that they're taking; they're messing with the prices of the sheep in both towns and with the persons delivering their services business. Um, so yeah, it's incredible if you. It's actually all these concepts are so very easy if it's just explained in a simple matter.
Yeah, and I'd love to keep tabs on the word used there, the rent seeking, because I think that is quite relevant in what you're doing in helping remove that for people who are tired of such an Airbnb. But um, before going there, I just wanted to continue on just part of your story that you talked about was the Bitcoin standard with Saifedean and Moose. huge book for everyone to read. That's like by far my number one most recommended book. I'm sure it is for you too, but
Yeah.
that goes through all of these things that we're talking about, just these basic economic functions. And most of the book is not about Bitcoin. Like the Bitcoin's only at the very end where that's sort of brought in, but it talks about how important money is, how important it is to have sound money, and how these economic functions work. And he's written other books, like the Principles of Economics is the new one that came out, and that I haven't read that myself, but I'm sure it talks about these sorts of things as well. So just the reason that you guys like you and me just nerd out about this stuff, but it didn't start out that way. I'm not sure about you, but I was just never into economics before I started getting into Bitcoin. But then you start realizing that this is so relevant to just how humans work and how we function in societies and communities. And that's also something that I'm sure you saw as well, because you built a business that is helping people build these communities and helping people like increase their freedom and work together better. And that's why I really just encourage people who may not think that they're interested in Bitcoin. You probably are, you just don't know it yet, because this is doing things that you really want to be done, which is allow yourself and the others around you to act freely as market actors, as people in the economy normally would, and be able to do what you want to do. And I guess that's a pretty good transition to just how AirBTC does this, how it helps people embody their natural selves and embody the people's need to build communities and be able to move around. I'm a traveler, so I move all over the place, and there's all sorts of just annoying rent-seeking problems like you talk about. And
Yeah.
this is a great example of bringing in this concept of the Bitcoin circular economy of
Yeah.
just everyone.
So, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I'll let you take
basically,
it from there.
instead of finding a way around or cutting through the fiat economy or not, we're basically just creating a separate economy next door to it, which is that has nothing to do with it, and they can't basically touch us. So I mean that's the beauty of it, and the way that we're helping is I mentioned the conferences, but we have an ambassador program which we just launched last week, and we already have 3 people signed up. But the idea is, if you have or you are part of Bitcoin circular economy in your area, in your town, you can sign up as an ambassador of AirBTC, and you can get listings in your particular town or jurisdiction that you're in, and and you can get a portion of the fee that we take for those listings. So a portion will go to you, and a portion will go to your Bitcoin circular economy project. Usually, it's only 1 or 2 persons involved, and they can anyway spend those funds as they want to. But the idea is that they can use that as advertising in the area for their project or whatever. And to touch on that, so the beauty of that is that so firstly the person in that town who puts up the listing will get Bitcoin directly into their wallet of choice if someone comes and stay there. So they can then spend that Bitcoin in the circular economy in that town again. And that person that comes to come and visit, that made the booking, is probably also a Bitcoiner. So if they come and stay there, they're also going to spend Bitcoin in that town. Add all the Bitcoin merchants here that you've signed up. And then obviously the kickback from us for your own circular economy to help you with marketing and building that. So it's like a win-win-win for circular economies, because this is something that's interesting to me. I got this out of a gold book, but under the gold standard, it was a huge problem for countries that didn't have gold to be able to get gold, because so if you don't have a gold mine in your country, the only way you can go onto a gold standard is to get gold somehow, and you have to exchange your services or other goods that you've produced for gold. So I see a lot of fiat economists to this day, they still pander the nonsense that the gold standard didn't work because some countries has gold and other countries doesn't have gold, and that's unfair. But that's total nonsense. If you don't have gold, have to trade for the gold. So if you have wood, then you can trade that for gold. But anyway, this is a good way. The same way that countries that weren't able to go into the gold standard could trade their goods for gold and then use that gold as money. That same way, Bitcoin circular economies, specifically in way off and poorer jurisdictions, they can use AirBTC to get Bitcoin into their jurisdiction or into their country, into their town, and that Bitcoin can start turning, and they can build their Bitcoin circular economy with the incoming Bitcoin like that, because you have to somehow exchange whatever you have to get the Bitcoin in to start living on a Bitcoin standard. And that's one of the things that really excites me about this project. So it's one of the few things that I've ever heard about or thought about that it's able to. I think we're going to be able to be a profitable business, and we can also help people like that.
That's super cool, and I'm really glad you brought up the gold analogy there with just how, like, you can't mine gold in every country, and those countries like needed to actually provide value to the other countries around them to be able to get that gold. Now, Bitcoin is different in a few important points here. One, anyone anywhere can mine Bitcoin, so it's completely global. So you don't have that issue in the first place of the even the politics of like, oh, we can mine it, you can't mine it. Anyone can do it. Also, it's important to remember that Bitcoin is not going to be just available on exchanges forever. It's not going to be mined forever. It actually has a hard cap at 21 million, like we talk about, and that's a huge difference. Is that using that gold example, gold can pretty much be mined theoretically, basically forever. I mean, there's so much of it there. It's about how much like more work you want to put in, how much machinery you want to buy, how much you're willing to destroy the planet to like dig deeper and deeper and deeper to get all this. And then, by the way, there's gold.
Adjustment.
Exactly, and there's gold on asteroids too. So like we would then go to like exploring space to get more gold, and then who knows if like alchemy would ever work in the future with whatever crazy technology. So when you're dealing with a physical rock like that, it's kind of messy when you're thinking about like how to increase the supply after a certain point. But for Bitcoin, you don't even have to think about that because it has a hard limit at 21 million. Once those full 21 million coins are mined, and that's expected to happen around the year 2140, so about 120 years from now, we'll probably be gone. Once those coins are all completely mined and the exchanges sell all their coins, then this officially becomes a peer-to-peer money, which is the goal from the beginning, is for this to be just a form of money that people trade with each other, and there's no more incoming supply. And so things like Air BTC, like you're talking about, and giving these different communities a leg up and a head start on bringing some of that value into their jurisdiction, like you said, that's going to be powerful, because having the money just flowing into an area, it will help that area bloom and have the circular economy working. And there are a bunch of circular economies out there. I haven't been to any big ones myself, but I really want to. I know that there's one in Costa Rica going on, Bitcoin Jungle, where people from all over the world, and Bitcoiners especially, are going over there just so they can buy stuff in Bitcoin and just live off of Bitcoin completely and not have to use any fiat at all. And that's happening already. So the fact that you're sort of providing a service where any of those circular, the small ones for now, they're still basically small and quite sparse, but giving them that bootstrapping ability to really grow into something bigger is awesome.
Yeah, that's we're very excited about it. So can I pivot? I wanted to talk to you as well about, because I think this is something that you might be, and your listeners will find interesting. And that is like the spend and replace meter within the Bitcoin community, basically. So I mean, we have been getting especially early on, a lot of kickback from people commenting on our Twitter, like, why would I spend my Bitcoin? My Bitcoin is I only stack, and it goes straight to my hardware wallet or whatever. And I think that is very like 2018 to 2022 kind of thoughts. And I think the entire meta within the Bitcoin community has changed, and we really need to focus on the spend and replace idea. So, I mean, if you really think it through, I mean, what is your plans if you are holding on forever for the next 10 years in a hardware wallet without participating in the Bitcoin community and in the Bitcoin economy? Are you planning to then, after 10 years in 2034, are you planning, in Bitcoin is then $2 million, are you planning to transfer your Bitcoin to your local exchange, get KYC, then sell that, then pay tax on that gains, and then spend the fiat? Is because if you're not gonna build a circular economy around you, that's what you're gonna have to do. so I mean, that can't be our end goal here. We have to get, the idea is to spend your Bitcoin, whether it's now or whether it's in 10 years, but we want to spend the Bitcoin directly. We want a Bitcoin standard to take over from fiat. We want the fiat economy to shrink into nothing, and we want the whole economy to be the whole world economy to be on Bitcoin within, let's hope, before 2050. Okay, so if that's what you want to achieve, if that's our goal, then we have to start spending and replacing. We have to start Bitcoin circular economies going. You have to spend your Bitcoin. You have to replace it every month. When your salary comes in, you buy Bitcoin, then you spend the Bitcoin. And that part that you don't spend, that you can stack. But just here in Stellenbosch, where I live, we have a very small but very active core community of Bitcoiners here. We have about 12 guys. We meet up every month. And so when we sign up local merchants, we just got a guy that was selling coffee like a month ago. But then someone posted on the group, I got Luke's Coffee in Dorp Street, Stellenbosch, to accept Bitcoin Lightning. And all that guy did is he just downloaded the Lightning wallet, and he started you can scan basically when he gets paid. And the next day I was there at the same time that I was there. 5 other Bitcoiners was there buying coffee as well. So that guy, he's selling like 8 new coffees every day just because he started accepting Bitcoin. So that's the idea. That's how we're going to get this thing going, is supporting the people who do accept Bitcoin. You have to go out to those specific restaurants or places or shops, any merchant that does that in your town, and you have to support them. And then the other merchants will see, oh, look at all this business that this guy's getting because he's accepting Bitcoin. And they will start accepting Bitcoin as well. So that's the only way that it works. Also in our town, we've made the mistake of just going out and onboarding people, and then you kind of tell them about how easy it is to get paid, and they can just sell it if they don't really Bitcoiners. And then they say, yeah, okay, and then you like buy something from them with Lightning, and then you get back to them 2 months later, and you say like, oh, how's the Bitcoin thing going? And then they say, oh yeah, that Bitcoin. Oh yeah, just that app is still on my phone because no one ever used it. You could have just about left it. If you're going to onboard someone, you have to go and support them. Yeah. So I mean, I'm really passionate about getting a circular economy going. Not just in my town, but in every town.
Yeah, I love that, and that's a really good, different perspective than the one. I guess it's been a little while since I've had a bunch of Bitcoiners on the show. I've sort of taken some tangents, but I would say I'm definitely from the camp of, I love Bitcoin as a store of value, but there's also the camp like you that like we need to really push like medium of exchange and start like really, going to these places and spending money and spending Bitcoin and helping support, like you said, the people that are already accepting it. And I think it's good to just be aware of both of those sides and just understand where both are coming from, because neither is wrong. I would say like for myself, like I'm a hodler, like I'm a saver. So I do have, a big stack that I'm just holding in the vault for, way down the road, building a family, like sending kids to college, that sort of stuff. But I
Hmm.
also am a traveler. I love going out and, spending, sats on cool things and cool places and finding Bitcoiners out in the wild who have businesses. And I always, like, just a few months ago, like one of the last haircuts I got, I convinced the guy to get, pull up Cash App, and I'm going to send him some Bitcoin. Like that's what he did, a great job. I wanted to
Yeah,
like send him to him
awesome.
that way. And so there's always opportunities to do that. And I love having that different perspective. I think it's important.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to dig into your stack to spend your Bitcoin. I mean, you're going to spend some money, some fiat anyway. So rather than spending the fiat, just buy Bitcoin and then spend that. Um, it's it's not that hard. You're not gonna lose out. I mean, I would always want. I mean, a lot of people like me, and I think a lot of Bitcoiners I feel the same way. I mean, it's not like as if Bitcoin is this magic thing that we love. It sprouts more out of a hate for the fiat system. So I'm not just into Bitcoin to get rich, and to save all my money into Bitcoin, and then 10 years from now I'm going to buy whatever for my family house or whatever. I want to take down the fiat, the entire system, and I want to build an entire new system next to it. That's what attracts me to Bitcoin. That's why I'm interested. Um, so so yeah, I mean, spending and replacing, or buying and then spending, buying more and then spending is probably a more accurate way of putting it. Is I mean, we have to do it. I mean, we have to advocate for it. We have to start doing it like now. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're not doing it, but get a Lightning wallet and go to any merchant in your area that accepts Bitcoin, and start spending a Bitcoin there. Don't dig into your stack. Just buy whatever extra that you than would you that what you would have stacked. So yeah, that's my message.
Yeah, I love it. And we have sort of touched on this a couple of times here, but the best place to go do that and find, if you don't want to go to the work of like onboarding people and like bring people on, which not everyone, is comfortable enough yet to do that. But if people are just looking to go somewhere to just get comfortable with using Bitcoin and Lightning and spending their sats and getting these services through Bitcoin, there are these circular economies all over the place already. I mentioned Bitcoin Jungle earlier, but I'm sure you probably have a good finger on the pulse of which good ones there are out there, because of Air BTC is probably popping up in all those locations. So, what's a general overview of the circular economy landscape as you see it right now? What are the ones that you're most excited about? Which ones are out there that people could look into if they're looking to go explore?
So a good friend of mine, um, he started Bitcoin Witsand, which is a circular economy in South Africa. It's a quite a small town, and he managed to. He's been working actively to onboard people there for like 3 years, and he's managed to almost everyone in the town uses and accepts Bitcoin now. And I think they tweeted like the other day that percentage-wise of the population in the town, they're like the highest users of Bitcoin on earth, basically. Like 90% of all merchants in the whole town accepts Bitcoin, but there's only 40 anyway. It's a very small town. But I mean, that's if you drive into the town from outside, there's like a big banner that says Bitcoin only or Bitcoin country. So I mean, that would be a good one to visit. But I mean, some of the people that we've signed up for the ambassador program, Costa Rica, Indonesia. There's a lot of these Bitcoin circular economies popping up like all over the world. I mean, all over South Africa and Africa. I mean, the last time I checked, there was like 60 or something. But I mean, if I go and check now, it'll probably be more than 80. And every time you go into these maps that show the Bitcoin circular economy projects, there's like a new one popping up, or well, 10 new ones popping up. So that whole thing is it's growing exceptionally well, and quickly. I think the people in those towns are starting to see the value of the Bitcoiners doing the hard work on the ground. I mean, I don't. In my head, I always take it back for some reason to I mean the similarities between that and some religions, like specifically Christianity. It's almost like the early Christians going to all these towns and telling the people about the good story, and then the people get enlightened, basically. Just because those people are good people and doing hard work, and they can see the value in those people. That's I think that's a big part of what attracts what attracted people to Christianity originally, and I think that's going to be a big part of what attracts people to Bitcoin is just the Bitcoiners themselves. I mean, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on, if you don't mind. With the that's one of the big. I think it's going to be one of the big things for AirBTC is just the Bitcoin community in general. I mean, honesty, no nonsense, just smart, hardworking people. I think, and from what I've seen so far, we're not going to have a lot of problems with people being dishonest with their listings and then people showing up and it's not what they expected, because Bitcoiners just tend not to do that. And the same with going to stay. If you're going to book, I think our guests will be respectful to other people's property. Way more than the general population outside there.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say even more than, I mean, obviously we know that Bitcoiners are awesome and they're just like high integrity people, but even as this continues to gain adoption, I mean, there's going to be ways to make sure that things are vetted in such a way so that, I'm sure that you have plans for kind of following again in Airbnb's footsteps for how they've generally done that, but do it better because we're Bitcoiners. We do everything better. And find a better
Yeah.
way to sort of keep everything, all the incentives aligned properly for everyone to provide exactly what they're saying they're going to and have the best experience possible on both sides.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
started thinking about that yet? How that's going to happen? Because it's still very new.
At this stage, we started off with a very basic website. Our product was, you can basically list and add like 10 photos and give a little description, and there was like 10 facilities that you could add. And we've already expanded that a lot. Obviously, we can see what other booking platforms have done, and we can copy what we like. And but it's a work in progress, and we've already added and expanded. An incredible amount. If I go and look back now at the website, what it was like a month ago, and what it looks like now, it's like day and night. And it's if we're going keep changing and adopting and getting better at this rate, then we're definitely gonna be well established and in a position to serve the customers in a great way. But I mean, at this stage, we're still very early. We do still have some problems. I spend basically every weekend troubleshooting and seeing all the new errors and stuff on the website that some of the customers reported, trying to fix those. But they're getting less and less. So hopefully we can get to a point soon where that all that problems dry up and we can just focus on adding features. And we're doing that on the side as well. We've already added a lot. And at this stage, because we're so small, you can expect to have like a personalized service. We have 2 dedicated team members that they're just working on with customers, and here and there's still 1 or 2 that slips through the cracks. But I think in general they're doing a great job. So if you list with us, you're going to get a person on the other side and not a bot or a standardized reply.
And I believe I remember hearing on one of your other podcasts that for any property owners out there that are already on Airbnb, it's fairly easy to just transition over or add it on AirBTC as well, in addition, right?
Yeah, so we do have that service. which we initially put out there, that you can just basically create an account with us and then send us your links to your listings on other websites, and we will just copy them over. We have found that takes up an incredible amount of time, and our backlog for those listings is getting longer and longer. We're getting more that's coming in than what we're doing on the front end, because it takes like an hour to hour and a half to do one, because it sounds easy, but to go and get everything exactly perfect takes a lot of time. So you're not just copying the photos and the description. You have to like put in all the different facilities and the rates and the different times. A lot of people have seasonal rates and stuff like that. It really takes a long time. So I mean, if you want to do that, we still have that service available, but they're going to wait like a week or two to get your property listed. The best way is to just go on and create the listing yourself. You can just click add new property or add new listing from your account, and just upload it yourself, and then we approve it. That's the best way I would recommend.
Yeah, and this is part of the fun of just being such a new thing. As you guys are still figuring things out, you're still growing really quickly, and if people listen to this in the future, and I'm sure they will. I usually keep things evergreen here, but people just going back, they'll see a different growing business. They get to watch this Bitcoin business blooming in full real time, which is super exciting. And
I think so, and I hope so. If we keep on going like we're doing now, I think we're gonna have a very good product in 3 months.
Very exciting, very exciting. And one of the other things you mentioned there, you use this word honesty, people being honest and things being done in an honest way, which is this is a forgotten word in the fiat world of all these businesses where you have to jump through all these hoops and do all these fiat gymnastics just to be able to function. And so I gotta wonder, and I know you've addressed this before, removing rent-seeking parasites, as we talked about earlier, removing them tends to anger the rent-seeking parasites. So do you expect there to be any pushback on the higher level of these bureaucracies all over the place who really want to be able to scrape their pennies off of people's money as it moves around and be those annoying third parties that just suckle off of other people's work? So do you think that will eventually be a problem, or have you seen any inklings of that being an issue, or do you already have contingency plans in place for if that ever comes to happen?
So yeah, that is an interesting topic. so I mean, for now, so because we don't have a fiat bank account, that is the easiest and the best way that regulators use to force anyone basically to comply. They basically just tell you that you do this and this and this, or we close your bank account, and all the banks just basically do that. And that so that is already one way that we are able to circumvent ridiculous rules. But I mean, I'm afraid that one day the police might pitch up in my house. So we are trying to put things in place to basically shield us better, if I can put it that way. I mean, we're not breaking any laws, so. I mean, we're just an online platform, and so my plan is, if some jurisdiction contacts me and say that we want information about that and that listing or that and that person, or that and that listing isn't allowed to be in our jurisdiction, doesn't allow people to list on platforms like this, then I'm just going to say, well, that's got nothing to do with me. To go and sort it out with them, and then they can go and contact those persons directly. Because I can't see any way that would be that they would be able to hold me accountable for that. But we are. I'm looking for solutions to put the whole thing, like, I don't know, on Nostr somehow, and get a decentralized board of people who run and help me run it, so that I'm not like a single point of failure. I mean, I'm definitely looking at those kind of solutions. And I do have a couple of interesting ones on the table, which I can't discuss yet, but I probably will start talking about that like within the next month. But yeah, that's an interesting topic. I mean, circumventing regulation isn't our first priority, but it is something that comes with Bitcoin, and that's one of the goals, I would say, of building a Bitcoin circular economy, is to get away from rent seeking and get away from parasites. I mean, I just spoke to my wife yesterday again. If I was to try and book accommodation in Brazil, for instance, there would be something like between 8 and 15 parties involved through different banks and government agencies and payment services, Visa or MasterCard, or from the moment that I pay to the moment that whoever I'm going to stay with gets their funds, and every single one of those, they take their cut. But if you book on AirBTC, you just it's just you and the guy that you're staying with and us. There's no one else involved. So I mean, that's incredible. The legacy financial system is exactly that. It's legacy. It's already redundant, and it's just a matter of time before the whole thing, before everyone realizes that it's much easier and better to use Bitcoin.
Yeah, I love it. And I just started having some flashbacks to one of my other interviews I did with Andy Schoonover from Crowd Health. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but similar situation where a better solution is simply being created that makes more sense. And it's sort of this elephant in the room is like we're living in a world where these crazy rules are ruling over everything that don't make any sense. And we're just coming out and saying, we have a better solution. We're just going to do it. We're not going to sit around and ask permission. We're just going to do it. And fuck you, basically. And that's kind of just how Bitcoiners roll. And that's why I love Bitcoiners, because we're just, people solving problems. And I mean, who knows, maybe someone could come after me on my podcast for even like talking about these ideas of just, avoiding regulations that suck, because they suck.
Yeah.
But I love that attitude. I love the energy. And the cool thing about being in this community as well is that we all know in the Bitcoin world that we're going to have some pretty decent power and wealth in the future. And the ability to throw some weight around and actually make changes, especially after Bitcoin does its thing that we know it's going to do. So I think that sort of gives us a foundation of confidence in what we do. And I'm certainly just getting more excited every day that there are awesome people like you out there in Air BTC building these solutions out for regular people just looking to interact with the world around them, act as humans without these needs for rent seeking and stupid regulations and problems between borders. We didn't really even talk about like how, just the problems of people from different countries moving around, and just the issues they have with just getting different currencies. So at the most simple level, what people are able to do with Air BTC is someone flying from China to France, they only have to use one currency. They don't have to switch their currencies around and lose a bunch of money in the process. So people actually get to save their wealth and spend, much less. And it just makes life easier for them. And I think that's just so beautiful. And it's so simple, which is why, it's so cool that this is being made and the Bitcoiners are out there supporting it. I know you've been all over the podcast, so that's exciting stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, we're getting close to an hour here. So I think that this would be a good time to just sort of wrap things up and just tell me, give me your elevator pitch for why people should come follow you guys, where they can follow you, and how people can help support the Air BTC mission.
So I mean, we are on Twitter and on Nostr. And it's AirBTC online, but if you type in AirBTC, I mean, it should come up on Twitter at least. And yeah, we post memes, we post Bitcoin only stuff the whole time. We're gonna start posting a lot of our listings as well. To so and following us on Twitter, Nostr will be cool. And I mean, the people who have been following us from the start, you're able to see how we're growing and getting better. And if you visit the site now, and if you like, I think the people who visited the site the day that we launched, and we are going onto the site now, will be like really surprised at what we've done. So it's not, we're not one of those. We didn't launch and sit back. We're actively adding new stuff every single day and getting better. So it's not like we're bringing out a new update with 2 bug fixes every 2 months. We're literally rolling new stuff out every day. And yeah, create an account, follow us on Twitter, and check back if you want to travel. If you're going to travel, check if there's a place that you want to travel to. At this stage, the chances are low, but check it out. I mean, we're also hoping that well, now even, but in the future, that Bitcoiners will use us as a travel destination of choice. If you want to go on holiday, go onto AirBTC and see what places are available and pick one and go there. Go visit another Bitcoiner in another town and go visit their Bitcoin circular economy. A lot of these circular economies are in like awesome tropical places with really excellent holiday destinations. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome, man. I just discovered you literally a few days ago. That's why I kind of started with, this is spontaneous. This just sounds like a cool project I want to talk about. So I haven't even had a chance to use it myself yet, but as a traveler, I absolutely will. I'm really looking forward to diving in and seeing what options there are out there. And just looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to continuing to watch this journey unfold. I'm following you everywhere, so I'll be watching it, and just looking forward to keeping in touch and watching the journey, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, man. I really enjoyed this discussion, and hopefully I'll be back soon.